What's up, everybody? It's Rick. Ever at the wheel to wheel, here with the latest pro wrestling news and results. On a Monday, it's a Megarant Monday, right here at Wrestling Rants. Hey, let's go. We got 2 Megarants on a Monday. It was a very busy weekend in the world of pro wrestling. In fact, 3 kind of mega events over the weekend. First, we're going to talk about this mega event, actually 2 of them in one, as part of the Impact Down Under Tour. We took a look at both shows over the weekend, available on Fight TV if you haven't seen it yet. And we'll throw some thoughts down here in a moment. We also have, of course, the wild event from Saturday, Money in the Bank from London, England, and what a show that was. We're going to be covering that in a separate rant later this afternoon in the evening on a Mega Rant Monday. And don't forget, tomorrow, July 4th, we are going to be dropping a ton of top 10 takes, particularly for top 10 takes on July 4th. We're going to be looking back at all the best in 2023 so far. We are right at the midway point of the year. Just passed by, actually, this past weekend. So we are going to be covering all the best mega events, all the best moments, all the best matches, and all the best MVPs from the year in wrestling so far. So let's get into it. Mega Rant Monday starts with 1 of 2 Mega Rants, and the first one is taking a look back at the 2 event night that Impact had in Australia this past Friday and Saturday. These events kind of came quickly. There wasn't a whole lot of build to it. I think within the last month or so, this kind of all came around to happen. And how Impact got this opportunity, first and foremost, this is an opportunity that was probably pretty lucrative for the company, despite the fact that at these shows there was maybe about 500 to 1,000 people at each show. Cosmetically, aesthetically, it doesn't look like this would necessitate going to Australia and back. The cost would be cost effective to do so, but the difference with this tour was much like, for instance, WWE's relationship with Saudi Arabia. This event was financed and covered by the Australian government, particularly the New South Wales government of Australia funded this show. They had tourism dollars. This was an attempt to not only promote tourism in this area of Australia, which, from what I understand, is kind of directly between Sydney and Melbourne, Australia, but many hours away, kind of in a very smaller community in an area that's really heightened with a lot of the tourism that they're trying to push to get people in these outlier areas in Australia. Well, one of those happened to be Wagga Wagga, Australia, in New South Wales, kind of a tourism destination point in the country of Australia, trying to get people just familiar with the area in itself. We had a lot of kind of tourism videos on both of these shows, highlighting a lot of the stuff going on in the area, a lot of nature stuff and things like that. So completely, probably lucratively financed by the New South Wales government. From what I read, they had a $40 million grant that they got to use for tourism dollars. Now, by all means, Impact didn't get $40 million here, but it wouldn't be out of the question that they probably maybe got at least $1 million for this tour to come in and everything. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll maybe get some more information about this down the road later in the week. I would think this would be something that internally that Impact officials want to push. So we'll see where they go. Like I said, this was financed by New South Wales government. Originally, New Japan was going to be doing these shows. There became a schedule conflict with New Japan. They couldn't do it. And Impact got the opportunity. So obviously we know New Japan and Impact are working together hand in hand, and this is another example of a partnership that really has led to lucrative opportunities for Impact. And this was no exception. Also, this event was kind of in a cooperation with a local wrestling company out of Australia, Oceania Pro Wrestling. They had a hand in this show. They have brought some of their talent in to work with some of the Impact talent. So there were some different names on these shows that I've not heard of, but we're impressed by some of this talent. And then on the second night, they actually had a match for the Oceania World Championship, which from what I understand was vacant. Maybe it had not been yet determined who was the first champion, and this was going to be the match to determine that. So a lot of stuff going on here. One other thing to mention, there was 2 nights in Australia. Third night is another show that they're doing in Australia. This would have been on Sunday evening in Australia time, I think around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. They were doing a third show, which from what I can understand is untelevised. It was the Australian Showcase. Everybody that attended either night 1 or night 2 of Impact in Wagga Wagga got a ticket to come to this third night for this Australian Showcase, where it was all Australian wrestlers. And from what I understand, 8 matches total, and Impact management was watching all of these matches, almost like a gut check type of thing, to see if any of this talent would want to come to the States and work for Impact down the road. So awesome opportunities here. Thought from everything I saw on the show as well, non-wrestling related, the outreach was there. There was a lot of video clips of them going to the zoo nearby, interacting with the animals. There was a video package where they were with students and young children talking about bullying, discrimination, LGBTQ issues, things like that. So community outreach for sure on the side of Impact. I think this was a win-win for both Impact and the area of Wagga Wagga, Australia, New South Wales, which from what I understood really never had much wrestling in this area. So this was all fresh to them and a big deal. So that made it that much more of a big deal on these shows as well. One last little news bit of information before we get into the results. This was the first time Impact has gone international outside of North America since September 2018, where they did a spot show in the UK on some level. I do not remember that at all. I think maybe certain talent maybe was on that show, but it may have been a cooperation, maybe another company of some sort. The actual last time they did a full international tour, a multi-show tour, was in India in May 2017. So it's been a long time coming for Impact, moving out of the States and doing some shows overseas. Okay, let's get into it. Time for results first from night 1. This was Friday night Australia time, United States time, 5 a.m. Eastern. Ouch. Needless to say, I did not watch these shows live at all. The show on night 1 opened up with, I think this was maybe the mayor of Wagga Wagga, Auntie Cheryl Penrith, and she just spoke about the area and welcomed everybody to their country. It's just basically a quick speech on stage that she did. Kind of weird, to say the least, start off this show. But anyhow, go to match 1 on day 1 here of the Down Under Tour. And 2 names that are pretty familiar to American audience as well, but they do ground their work in Australia. Slex, who I believe was at one point on Ring of Honor, at some point for a while, maybe before they changed hands over to AEW, they ended up buying them out. Slex worked the opener against Adam Brooks, who we've seen in a multitude of different promotions and independent promotions around America. These 2 guys had a quite a nice opener. I went 3.5 stars. Slex did win over Adam Brooks in this one. 6 minutes, 19 seconds of work. Good opener. Really solid stuff. I do have to say, crowd-wise, crowd was pretty quiet this first night. They were a lot louder on the second night. I don't know if that was because maybe there was more people on the second night. It's very possible. Time will tell. Like I said, I haven't gotten numbers officially. I've seen some pictures of the arena from like kind of a panoramic kind of look. And it looked like there was probably between, like I said, 500 to 1,000 each night roughly. Match number 2, this was Giselle Shaw against another Australian worker, Erica Reed. 7 minutes, 33 seconds. Shaw won with a submission. Basically, Deanna Prazo's submission, somewhat. It was an armbar submission that she racked on Erica Reed for the win. That kind of set up the match for next night against Deanna Prazo, which was the main event of night 2, by the way, on that one. Shaw went over Reed. I went 3 stars on this match. It was all right. This Erica Reed was pretty decent in the ring against Shaw as well. Digital Media Championship, which was on the line on both nights. Joe Henry beat Eddie Edwards on the first night here. I went 3 stars. Hey, you know, I don't know. These two didn't completely gel. They're okay, but something was off here. It didn't kick into that second gear. I went 3 stars, like I said, on it. 11 minutes, 41 seconds of time on this one. We get to match 4. Killer Kelly over yet another Australian talent. Alicia, something around those lines. This is probably the least entertaining match of the night at 2 3/4 stars. Alicia was pretty green. She had this kind of gimmick where she was kind of like a partier. It was a weird gimmick. It didn't really connect with me too much. And 7 minutes and 9 minutes of work. 7 minutes and 9 seconds of work, excuse me, on this one. Again, match just didn't kick into a second gear. Killer Kelly was having a kind of hard time carrying this gal, I felt. X Division Championship was next, and this may have been the best match, perhaps, of the entire 1 or 2 nights. For sure, the best of the first night, maybe the best of both nights. X Division Triple Threat. Chris Sabin won over Frankie Kazarian, and coming in from New Japan, Robbie Eagles, who, as we know, is an Australian talent as well, so no surprise that he was on these cards. He looked great in there against Kazarian and Sabin. This match was excellent. I went a solid 4.5 stars on this one. Just action. 14 minutes, 49 seconds. Sabin particularly got the pin with Cradle Shock on Robbie Eagles after Kazarian got thrown out of the ring, and that led to the finish on this one. Really good match. I would say the standout match for sure of night 1, maybe of both nights. Then we get to a couple non-title matches as part of night 1. The Bullet Club team of Chris Bay, Case Austin, went over Moose and Brian Myers in a non-title match. 10 minutes, 57 seconds. It was okay. Kind of a preview match to the 4-way at Slammiversary. Not really much to say about it. I went 3.5 stars on it. ABC won clean on pinned by Brian Myers by Chris Bay, I believe it was. Or no, I believe it was Ace Austin. Pinned Myers on this one. Another non-title match for match 7. This was Deanna Purrazzo, the Knockouts champion, against, coming in from GCW and other independent organizations, Stephanie DeLander, another native Australian. Really cool that they got her in for this. She was on Impact for a little while and then kind of faded off. Started working in the independents with Matt Cardona and things like that. She did return on this show. Both nights had matches. This one was with Purrazzo, it was okay. I felt like it was a little clunky at parts. I went 3 stars. It was only 9 minutes and 4 seconds on this one. Purrazzo did win clean over DeLander pretty handily as well. I thought DeLander was constantly at a struggle with Purrazzo on getting shine. And that kind of that made this match a little difficult, I felt like, in looking back at it. Then the main event was a strong main event for sure. Alex Shelley against Steve Macklin, the rematch for the Impact World Championship. Not as good as their first match that we saw where the title switch happened at Against All Odds. But I still went about 3.5 stars on this one. They did get a lot of time as well. They went over 20 minutes. I had, I think, 21 minutes and some change on this one, but not a bad way to end the show. It wasn't the high note that we got with the X Division match, which I kind of felt like should have dropped last on this show. But I understand why having the Impact World Championship in a rematch with Macklin and Shelley went last. It just was different than the first match they had. This one was a little more ground-based and such. It just didn't click as much as the first one, but it was still a solid main event, 3.5 stars, on that one to conclude night 1 of the Down Under Tour. Let's get into night 2 then. We opened night 2 with a Oceania Pro Wrestling World Championship match. This came across by the announcers, the usual announcers for Impact. Matt Rainwald, Tom Hannafan. I don't think we're there, by the way. I do not think they were in Australia. I think they were doing this by voiceover in the States, just as a FYI to that. But anyhow, they were talking about that this was, I think, a tournament for this title. I do not think there was a champion yet for this company, so this was the inaugural one. I may be completely wrong on that, but I think that's what they said in the commentary. 13 minutes and 2 seconds on this one. Adam Brooks became the Oceania Pro Wrestling World Champion over Robbie Eagles. A really, really excellent opener. This was better than the first night opener. I would go 4 stars on this one. These guys had their working boots on, let me tell you. Lots of high-flying spots, good transitions, non-stop action, really getting the crowd big into this one. For sure. Adam Brooks, new Oceania World Champion. Match number 2 was another match between Australian talent that I am not familiar with. This was the Natural Classics of Steve and Tome Philippe over the Velocities, Jude London and Paris De Silva. 4 minutes and 46 seconds. They hardly gave them any time. It still was what I would consider a 3-star match. It was above average, but because of the time, they didn't get a whole lot of stuff in. But I kind of got the vibe that this was a tryout match, perhaps, for both teams also. Digital Media Championship once again for match 3. Joe Henry went over Moose this time. 12 minutes, 16 seconds. I think this was the best match that Moose and Henry have had so far, for sure. Maybe because they got a little more time than usual. I went 3.5 stars on it. I really liked it. There was some good near falls. Some really good shit here for Henry and Moose. Eddie Edwards was next. Match 4 against Selects. And a 3-star match. Edwards went over with the Boston Meat Party. 11 minutes, 49 seconds. Could have went a little shorter, I think, on this one. But it was still pretty good action. Match number 5. Stephanie DeLander. One more time in there. Coming in for these shows against Killer Kelly, and DeLander actually went over in this match. I went 3.25 stars. These two worked pretty well together. 9 minutes, 51 seconds. I do wonder if maybe they'll bring in DeLander for a little bit back to Impact. Maybe at the next couple of tapings. I guess we'll see if they could really follow up with this with DeLander. We will see what they do. Match number 6 was Frankie Kazarian over Brian Myers. 14 minutes, 47 seconds. Quite long match. Again, another match I felt could have been cut down even like 5 minutes, and it would have probably been a lot better. I went 3 stars on this one. It was fine for what it was. Tag championships were up next on the definite match of the show for night 2. And this was the team of ABC, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, the Bullet Club, World Tag Team Champions over the Motor City Machine Guns of the X Division Champion Chris Sabin and the World Champion Alex Shelley. This kind of came off like perhaps the last match these guys are going to be having. They talked about in commentary how this feud kind of started about a year ago around this time, so it was very fitting that it ended here. Shelley got thrown out of the ring, and at that point, Sabin was left to double team, where we got the Art of Finesse, and then we got Ace Austin's, can't remember that name of that finish, but the 1-2 punch for ABC. They got the win. 19 minutes, 3 seconds. Lots of really good action here. I think this may have been the best match I've seen with these two. I did see the title change actually happen between these two teams back at Impact in Las Vegas in February. So, nice follow-up from that one. This match ruled. 4.5 stars. Between this match and then the Sabin, Kazarian, Robbie Eagles match from Friday, those were your two really standout matches on these cards, no doubt. After the match, there was respect given to the team of ABC by the Machine Guns, so all around the presentation here was phenomenal. Main event time for night 2, Knockouts Championship. Deonna Purrazzo went over Giselle Shaw in 17 minutes and 4 seconds. I went 3.25 stars on this one. We've seen Deonna, we've seen Giselle before. Once again, I think this is probably the best match that they've had in their program, and I think this is probably it for the program as well. This was a kind of a final nail in the coffin of the program, if you ask me. Giselle looked pretty good in there, I have to say, against Deonna. Not bad. Not to the same level as the main event on Friday with Shelley and Macklin, but still a very solid main event. But that tag title match on night 2 was the shit, boy, let me tell you. And then, like I said, on night 1, that Sabin Kazarian Robbie Eagles match, you should really check that out. It was damn good. Overall, what night was better? Hard to say. I think night 2 was maybe just a little bit better. Some of the undercard was a little bit stronger. Night 1, everybody was kind of getting their feet a little bit wet with that Australian crowd at Wagga Wagga. Night 2 just felt a little more flowing, a little more better near falls. The crowd was a little bit better, things like that. So overall, I would give probably night 1 a B-, and I would give night 2 a B+ for these Impact Down Under Tour shows. Hopefully they come back and do this another time. I think there's potential here to get bigger crowds, like if they come back to Australia and say do a show in Sydney or Melbourne or something like that. You're going to be guaranteed probably get a better crowd here, and they already have established some connections with Australian talent as well. So all in all, good shit by Impact this weekend. Just a little time ahead here, just a few more weeks, and we're going to be right back with another Mega Rant on Slammiversary from Impact. Coming up not too long, like I said, in just a few weeks' time. Okay, everybody, coming back later, we got a big Mega Rant on everything from Money in the Bank, one of the best pay-per-views this year from WWE, maybe the best pay-per-view of the year from WWE, and we got lots of interesting stuff coming out of the fallout from Money in the Bank. Stay tuned, come on back, one more Mega Rant to go on a Monday, right here, Wrestling Rants, baby!